Hi! Recently I've been going over some of the gear that I have lying around and trying to downsize a little bit in my home studio, make room for new things and get rid of things that I no longer use. And I had my Volca drum on the chopping block, thinking I should probably sell it. But then I thought about, why did I buy this thing to begin with? And I thought to myself, it was because it has a really great wide sonic palette, I guess, like you can make really uh, different and diverse sounds, and it doesn't sound like your typical drum machine. It has more than just, a kick and a snare and a hi-hat and a tom. And I thought, so why don't I use it? And the answer, as far as I know, is because the touch strip here is really fiddly, all the knobs are plasticky and small, and the sequencer is limited to the 16 steps. You can do a lot of really good things with this. Like you can record automation, and you can create beats that sound good, drum loops. But it's difficult to use it to make a song because it is so limited and the loops are very short. And yeah, I don't know. I keep pressing the wrong thing and accidentally changing parameters. So it's just collecting dust. But I do really like the sound engine and the effects engine of this. They're wonderful. At the same time, I have my Deluge here, and my Deluge, like I've talked to at great lengths before, is a wonderful machine for sequencing things and for changing parameters and for adding effects, and I don't know, pretty much everything is amazing with this. And it comes with onboard drum sounds that I like, but I also kind of feel like I want to do something different. I want to create something that's more new and more unique to what I want to hear, as opposed to using whatever's in here as a starting point. And since the Deluge is such a good sequencer, and since it's so good with sampling things, I figured, why not use the best of both worlds and take my Volca drum, whose sounds I like, and the sequencing and the drum machine capabilities of the Deluge, which I also really like, and make something that's hopefully a little bit better than the sum of its parts. That's what I'm doing today. I think if I were to get rid of the Volca drum, and I still might, who knows, I would likely replace it with something like a Vermona DRM, which is another, amazing sound engine, but I don't necessarily, I don't even think it comes with a sequencer. Or something like the Vermona, what's it called? Performer, where you can use synth voices to create drum sounds, but it's more limited because there are only 4 sounds. But I like the idea of having something that's so capable of creating different sounds. So that's what we'll do today. In front of me I have the Volca drum and the Deluge, both of which are battery powered, so there's no connections to any outlet or anything. They're just running on internal batteries. Cross your fingers that I don't run out of batteries. It has happened to me before. I'm gonna turn them on, and this will not be like an in-depth, all the ins and outs of the Volca drum, because there are other videos on YouTube that do a better job at that. So if it comes across as me just tweaking things at random, I think that's okay. There are so many variables within each of the sounds here. So changing something here can affect something here, which in turn affects something over here. I am mostly interested in just creating sounds that I think sound good, and then gradually I'll start to sample them into a new drum machine. And when you start this up, it takes you into synth, but I don't want that, so I'm going to press song, and then I'm going to press anywhere on this line, and the black encoder, which turns this into an audio track. If I press learn input and then anywhere on the track, it takes me to left and dot if I turn this around. Left is the left channel from the audio input from the Volca drum, and the dot is just monitoring. So if I press something here, you should be able to hear it now, and you can. Yes, great. Okay, now we have the monitoring track for listening, but we need to create a new kit track where we can actually import the sounds. So I'll press here on the next track and press kit, which gives me a kit. I guess I could do start synth track and then create a kit. It doesn't matter. I'll press shift and kit, which creates a new kit, and then I'll click back and undo. That means we have one pad with one slot and one instrument, but it's not assigned to anything, so you can't hear it. If I press anywhere on here, you can still hear what's going on through the monitoring track. So it probably makes sense to start by making a kick drum or a bass drum of some variety. And a cool thing on the Volca drum is that you can press function and then randomize layer, which gives you a completely random sound. And if I do it again, creates a whole, yeah, crazy new sound. And obviously this means that you can try stuff out until you hit a sound that you like. I won't be quite as experimental with this. I'll try to start with a good starting point for the interest of time mainly. So we'll start with a bass drum. And on this side here is how you modulate the sound itself. There are two layers, they affect each other. I think it's some sort of FM operation going on. And on this side is where you have the wave guide, which is like the effects section. It comes with two different models. One is tube, that's the tube there, and the other one is string, which is this one. And you see it like it moves around in interesting ways. I prefer the tube one. That's what we'll stick with. But yeah, I'll just like fiddle some of these things around, moving between layer 1, layer 2, sometimes doing it together. And the modulation, I'll change the amount and the rate, and the envelopes, I'll mess with the attack and the release too. And of course the pitch. That's a starting point. So we have a kick drum here. And I'll just tweak it around. That works for me as a kick drum. So now I have a sound I like, and like I said, there's nothing assigned to this yet. But if I press the audition pad down here and record, and then press the sound, and then press record again, it should have recorded whatever I played into that pad. But the starting point is not immediate, because it starts whenever I press record, and there was a bit of a gap between me pressing record and actually making the sound. So I'm going to have to adjust the waveform. If I press here again and waveform, the top left one, you see this is the waveform of the sound. If I play it now, it takes a while before the actual sound starts playing. But as long as this is blinking, I'll just move it, and then I can press and turn this black encoder to zoom in and get closer to the waveform. And while the green line is selected, I can go in and change the starting point until I'm right where the waveform starts. And you hear it's much more immediate now. I'll zoom out and I'll try to adjust the endpoint too. It doesn't really matter, but I like just the idea of having something that's a little bit more, yeah, the appropriate length instead of, you know, going on and on. Cool, I think maybe a little bit longer. That's fine for me. Back undo. Now we have a kick drum. And if I press it very briefly, you hear that it clips a little. If I go into the attack release, I can adjust the attack just ever so slightly to remove the initial clipping. And then the release, if I turn that all the way up, it will play for the duration of the clip. So even if I just press the button really briefly, it will play the whole sound, which is exactly what I want. So, okay, we're off to the races. We have our kick drum. Let's create a snare sound. This one is crazy, but let's see what we can do with it. And I'll try the different effects model. Yeah, that works for me. Okay, so press the audition pad one step up. Same thing again, press here, press record, and then play the sound. Yeah, and same thing again, that we have to adjust the starting point. So this is blinking by default. Move in and adjust this stuff. It's slightly like overkill to zoom in this much. I just prefer doing it knowing that it starts exactly when I want it to start. Cool. And like before, I want to adjust the endpoint, but this one has a slightly longer decay, so I just want to make sure that we don't cut anything off too much. That's fine. And I'll adjust the release. I'll also adjust the level a little. And here's where things get a little bit interesting to me. So we have the sound, we've sampled it, but this thing as a sampler has a lot of capabilities when it comes to actually adjusting the sound. So while this is selected, if I press and hold the audition pad and then go to the transpose master, here, I can detune up and down and create a sound that's a little bit different. And when I detune it, I feel like I'm introducing a little bit of aliasing just because of the bitrate and how it's being stretched, which I think is cool. And for the bass drum, we can do something there too. So if I press and hold the bass drum and then go into decimation here, I can turn that up a little. And introduce a little bit of, the Decimator. For the snare, it's mostly playing a sound in like the mid-range and the treble, but if I want to remove any sort of remnants into the bottom end, while this is selected, I go to the next one, the cutoff FM, and I tap the top golden encoder, which takes it from a low-pass filter to a high-pass filter. A high-pass filter lets the higher frequencies pass, hence the name, and if I just dial this up a little, you can hear what it does. So I still want to have like a full-bodied snare sound, but I don't want any bottom end because I want to use that space for other things. Cool, I'll turn this down a little bit more. And then I want some sort of hi-hat sound. There's a good one already, but I'm just going to change it around a little. Sounds pretty cool to me. Let's record this one too. Nice. Way too loud. I'm going to turn it down and then into the waveform to adjust it. Close enough. And then just adjust the endpoint. Yeah. I'm going to pan this just a little bit to the side. And I'm going to adjust the release like I did before. And I'm going to add a little bit of delay to this one by dialing up the amount. So I think the ping pong stuff is fine. I like the ping pong effect. If I wanted to change that, I would just tap the golden encoder at the top, normal ping pong. I want it to be ping pong. But I think the repeats are a little bit too quick, but I want them to be synced with the clock. So if I press shift and let's see, delay sync, this one, I can change it from 16th to 8ths. If I play it now, it should be a little bit slower. Same thing as before, I want to add a little bit of high pass filter to this one, just to clean it up. Yeah, something like that is fine. And the delay is a little bit excessive. Okay, now I have, a basic. I want to add maybe a tom or something more percussive. That one's actually pretty cool, but I'm going to change it. Okay, so I like two sounds coming from this. I think the sound when the waveguide is a little bit higher up sounds really good. And also I like the sound where I'm turning the tune. And the beauty of sampling stuff is that you can record both. So I'm going to see if I can record the slight turn on the knob into here. So I get this more percussive sound that is slightly different from what it sounds like here. Let's do that again. Okay, it took a couple of tries, so I'm going to have to edit out more. But same thing applies. Waveform, go into here. this actually sounds cool to me. Okay, let's leave it there. I'm going to change the panning. I'm going to change the release. And I'm going to dial it up a little, just the level. Cool, and let's change the tuning for this one too. So transpose and master. Cool, let's do that. Maybe add some decimation too. Nice, and add a little bit of delay to this one too. Same thing, change the sync to 8ths. This one is a little bit quiet, so what I'm going to do is press this and saturation, and dial it up to, I don't know, 4. Yeah, and dial the delay down a little. Now we have a sound that is going to be very, very difficult to replicate on the Volca drum, or the Deluge for that matter. So we have, yeah, I don't know, just a lot of possibilities in terms of building new sounds. Like I mentioned, I liked the bass sound too when this was dialed up a little. This one. So let's record that too. Perfect. And then same thing applies. Change the starting point. And nice. Change the panning. And change the release. A little bit of delay. All right, cool. Now we have, I don't know, we have enough for now. You can keep going, but I'm going to call it on sampling the Volca. So turning this off, I don't need it anymore. I'm going to go back out into the song, and I'm going to press the learn input. And on the monitoring track, I'm going to remove any monitoring. I can also just mute this because it doesn't matter anymore. This is currently, this to the side. So this is currently just, you know, a bunch of recorded sounds. If I turn this off and turn it back on, these sounds will be gone forever. But I want to save this as a drum kit. It's pretty easy to do. You just press save, and while you hold that down, you just press the kit, and then it asks for the name. This is the keyboard. And given that this is November and Movember, I'm going to call it Movember. Movember. Because it's a good cause. Yeah, Movember. There we go. Press enter, and it says overwrite because I previously tested this out, and I'm going to say save again. Done. So if I turn the Deluge off and turn it back on, I now have a kit called Movember. If I just find it, yeah, there we go, and that's the one I want. Which is a pretty cool sounding kit. I'm going to make a couple of minor tweaks to this. So one thing that I want to do is make sure that this sends the sidechain signal, so I can do volume ducking and those types of things on other tracks. It's one of those things I tend to forget to do, but it's really good to do if I want to be able to use that function. So shift and sidechain and send up here. And then I just dial that all the way up and then press it again. And now we have a signal that's being sent out that will be ducking the volume on the other tracks. If I want to save this again, do the same thing, press save, press kit. It says Movember 2, but I don't want that, so I'm just going to go back a step, press enter, it will say overwrite, and yes. Should we dial this up a little? Yeah, I think we should. So while that one's selected, saturation, turn it up to, that sounds really good. And yeah, I'm going to make a couple of just like minor adjustments, but essentially now we have 5 brand new voices that I don't think anyone else in the world has. And you can do this yourself, and you can sample whatever you have, whatever you like to work with, whatever makes a sound that you enjoy. And yeah, that's a lot of fun. So I'm going to take this drum machine. I'm going to record a simple track on my Rhodes and my Sequential Take 5, looping through a bunch of effects pedals I have back there, and hopefully turn this into something that sounds musical. I haven't done this yet, so fingers crossed that it works out. But thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting these videos. If there's anything you liked or want to see more of, please just let me know in the comments. I feel really motivated when I see people say nice things. And if there's something that's not so nice that I need to hear, then let's have it. Have a great rest of your Movember, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.